Through ancestry, birthplace and family ties, a surprising number of NRL players qualify to represent England. Some were born in England while their dads were playing Super League, others qualify through parents or grandparents, and some even have multiple international options across Tier 1 and Tier 2 nations. Before we get into the names, let's quickly clear up the eligibility rules in International Rugby League. Under current regulations, a player can only ever commit to one Tier 1 nation. That means once you play Test football for Australia, New Zealand, or England, you're locked out of the other two forever. Players can switch between Tier 1 and Tier 2 nations under certain conditions, but they can't jump between Tier 1 nations once they've made their choice. This is why so many players who technically qualify for England will never actually wear the white jersey. So, with that in mind, here are some players who were eligible for England, but chose a different path. First player is Kehano Kinney. Born in New Zealand and of Maori, Samoan and English heritage, England was always an option on paper before he debuted in the NRL. However, having already represented the New Zealand Kiwis, that door is now permanently closed under Tier 1 international rules. It's a classic case of England technically having a claim, but realistically never standing a chance once the Kiwis got in first. Born in England while his father Kevin was playing for St Helens, KL Hero later grew up in New Zealand and now plays for the Cronulla-Sutherland Sharks. He currently represents the Cook Islands internationally. Because the Cook Islands are a Tier 2 nation, he technically could switch to England in the future. However, he's previously said he didn't even realize England was an option for him until it was mentioned in an interview. Realistically, his connection to the Cook Islands seems far stronger, making an England switch highly unlikely to happen. Next player is Ethan Strange. The Canberra Raiders 5/8 qualifies for England through his mother and New Zealand through his father, giving him rare triple eligibility alongside Australia. However, after being selected in the 2025 Australia Kangaroos Ashes squad, his international future is now locked in. England and New Zealand are officially off the table. This is a common pattern for elite young NRL players. Even when England is an option, Australia remains the ultimate goal. Next player is Sam Walker. Sam Walker qualifies for England through birth, as his father was playing for Leeds Rhinos when he was born. His England eligibility has been talked about for years, especially whenever England struggle for elite halves. However, Walker has been clear that he has no intention of representing England. Even without having played Test football for Australia yet, he sees his future in the green and gold rather than the white of England. Next player is Jarome Hughes. Born in Wellington and of Maori and Welsh descent, Hughes was once eligible for England through his Welsh heritage. However, after becoming a regular for the New Zealand Kiwis, that door is now firmly shut. His rise at the Melbourne Storm turned him into one of the best halves in the world, and England effectively lost any chance of ever recruiting him once he committed to New Zealand at Tier 1 level. Next player is Tino Fa'asuamala Huey, eligible for England through his grandfather, and also for Australia and Samoa through family heritage. He was one of the most interesting triple eligibility cases in the NRL. England technically had a pathway, but once he represented Australia at Test level, that option disappeared permanently under Tier 1 rules. However, because Samoa are a Tier 2 nation, he can still represent them in the future if he chooses to switch. So while England is completely off the table, a Samoa move remains legally possible. This is another example of how quickly England can lose access to elite forwards once the Kangaroos come calling. Next player is Isaac Fa'asuamala Huey. Like his brother, he qualifies for England through his grandfather, and also for Australia and Samoa. The key difference is he hasn't played any international rugby league yet, meaning all three options remain open. England actually has a strong chance here. Unlike Tino, he isn't a star player, so breaking into Australia or even Toa Samoa would be very difficult given the deep talent pool they can select from, including origin-level forwards. That makes England potentially the easiest and most realistic pathway for Isaac to play Test footy at Tier 1 level. If he develops steadily in the NRL with the Bears next season, bringing him into the England setup early could pay big dividends, giving him a talented, eligible forward who is completely uncommitted internationally. Next player is Blake Brily. Both of Bryly's parents were born in England, making him fully eligible to represent England. The longtime Cronulla-Sutherland Sharks hooker could have been a serious option for England's spine depth over the past few years. However, after being selected for Australia in the 2025 Ashes series, any chance of him playing for England is now gone. This is another case of England missing out on an NRL-developed player once the Kangaroos come calling. Next player is Jayden Brily. Like his brother, he is fully eligible for England through both parents being born there, and he also qualifies for Australia through residency and development pathways. Currently playing for the Canberra Raiders, he hasn't represented any nation at test level yet, leaving England a real opportunity to secure him. At 29, he is the elder Brily brother, and his window for international test football is starting to close. Unlike Blake, who has already been selected in an Australia squad for the Ashes, Jayden remains uncommitted, making any England call up a final chance to bring him into the Tier 1 game. Next player is Max King. Born in England while his father David was playing for Huddersfield Giants, Max King qualifies for England through birthplace. Now a key forward for the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs, King has developed into one of the most reliable middle forwards in the NRL. England could have had a genuine enforcer in the middle of the park here. If Australia fully lock him in long term, England will have missed out on a prime forward in his peak years. Next player is Lewis Simmons. Simmons was born in England and is currently on a development deal with the Dolphins. While he's yet to make his NRL debut, he represents the type of prospect England often lose track of: young, eligible players who move through the Australian system and become emotionally tied to the NRL pathway rather than the international game in Europe. If he kicks on, England could one day look back and feel they missed an opportunity to bring him into their setup early. Final player is Kai O'Donnell. The former Lee Leopards forward qualifies for England through his mother, who is from Newcastle. After impressing in Super League, he returned to the NRL with the North Queensland Cowboys. England's second row stocks are already deep, which has probably worked against O'Donnell from an international perspective. He's a great example of how even when players are eligible, timing, form and positional depth can decide whether England ever seriously pursue them. Now, just for entertainment value, just imagine all these players pledged allegiance to England when they debuted in the NRL. Here I put together a lineup that England could have had. Here's an imaginative England team that could have been absolutely unstoppable. Every dual-eligible star had chosen England from the start. The backline alone would be lightning fast. Kehano Kinney at fullback, with Dominic Young and Herbie Farnworth tearing down the wings, making every kick and break a real threat. In the halves, Ethan Strange and Billy Smith, supported by Sam Walker and Jarome Hughes, controlling the game, picking the perfect pass, the perfect kick, every single set. The forwards? Pure power. Tino Fa'asuamale Huey, Max King, Victor Radley, Kai Pearce-Paul, relentless in the middle, dominating every hit-up, every tackle. And the bench, stacked with game changers: AJ Brimson, Morgan Smithies, Matty Nicholson, Alex Walmsley, Mikey Lewis, Matty Lees, ready to come on and turn the game on its head. Now, this is purely imaginative. They never actually played together for England. But if they had, we'd be talking about a team with speed, skill, and power to challenge Australia, New Zealand, and all the Pacific Giants. Honestly, it would be a nightmare for anyone lining up against them. Stay updated with all your rugby league content on YouTube by smashing the like button and subscribing to the channel for more of your daily dose of rugby league. Thank you.